Hey everybody, Playtendoguy here, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to be talking about video games. We're going to be talking about the top 10 video games of 2022 in my opinion. So yeah, from indie darlings to big budget blockbusters, 2022 has been honestly a really good year. We've seen some amazing titles from Nintendo and PlayStation, as well as those indie darlings that I talked about, some major big hits like Stray and Sifu, and some incredible big giants like Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. There's a lot of great games to choose from, and it's been hard to make this top 10 list. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first up, before I get into my top 10, here's a few honourable mentions. So kicking off the list, at number 10 we have Horizon Forbidden West. So right in at number 10 we have Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the biggest games on the PS4 generation, and we finally saw the sequel to one of 2017's biggest games with Horizon Forbidden West, following the further exploits of Aloy as she attempts to save the world from a certain doom. Whilst I do think Forbidden West's story lacks a bit compared to the original, everything else is greatly improved on, with even more beautiful and stunning open world that offers a great diversity in landscapes and many wonderful locales. Its combat is still very fun and a very hectic action RPG that I really do enjoy, and it is a complete blast with some superb boss battles. Feeling very much like a creme de la creme of open world games, Forbidden West was an early year delight for PlayStation gamers, with its DLC Burning Shores coming in the spring later this year. So there's plenty more Horizon to look forward to in 2023. Continuing on at number 9, we have The Quarry. Yes, in number 9 we have The Quarry. Yes, Until Dawn developer Supermassive Game returned this year with a fully fledged horror title, taking a little break from its horror anthology franchise The Dark Pictures Anthology to deliver us The Quarry, starring an all-star cast of David Arquette, Tim Raimi, and Lance Hendrickson, to name but a few. The Quarry wears its love of old-school 80s slashers like Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp on its sleeve, with a fun tale of a group of camp counselors spending one deadly night on the camp's grounds, but something hopes to take them out one by one. If you played any other Supermassive horror games, then you know what to expect here. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it doesn't need to. It's just a fun tale with some likeable characters, shocking moments, great use of licensed music, and the brilliant choice-based system that allows you to shape the story and ultimately decides who lives and who dies in one of the most replayable games of last year. We have Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. The pink puffball has been around for years now, and Kirby never really went full 3D till now with the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And with that, we see arguably the best entry in the series today and the most cheerful and sweet game of last year. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the first for the franchise to go full 3D platformer, and it feels similar to Mario 3D World in its execution. Delivering fantastic level design and loads of many clever and fun mechanics, the biggest new mechanic is mouthful mode. It's such a bizarre but utterly delight to play. Seeing Kirby swallowing a card never gets old. Its combat has been spruced up a bit, and upgrades are also a nice new idea. It's also one of the more lengthier Kirby games, and who can forget the beautifully whimsical soundtrack that just puts a huge big smile on your face. Kirby is a true delight, and I can't wait to see where this series goes next. In at number 7, we have the delightful A Plague Tale Requiem. One of the biggest surprises of the last decade had to be A Plague Tale Innocent. It was brought to us by Sobo Studios, a AA studio that delivered us a heartbreaking and personal story and introduced us to Hugo and Amicia in the first game. Fast forward to its sequel, A Plague Tale Requiem, it goes bigger in almost every way, and it's a lot better for it. The game is a much more larger scale, and a lot of the frustration of the original has now gone as Amicia can defend herself much more here. Level design is vast and beautiful. Whilst it's still linear, there's no denying it's a gorgeous game. The story here is even more fantastic than Innocence, expanding so much on the lore of this world, but you better bring tissues as it's quite emotional. My only fault with the game is that the performance isn't the greatest, but rest assured Asobo Studios is one to look out for in the future as they're a very talented group of developers. At number 6, we have Pokemon Legends Arceus. The Pokemon franchise is one of my favourites, but there's no denying there's been a feeling that the series has needed some changes, especially after the jump to the Switch. And of the two big Pokemon games that released this year, it's Legends Arceus that delivered the best Pokemon experience, taking the series in a new approach whilst being set in the times where Pokemon were still very wild and people were scared of them. It offered a new and different tale. Whilst you're not training to be the very best, you're just trying to research them. And it was a nice change of pace. But it isn't the biggest change here. It's in this gameplay, and the gameplay here has been evolved quite massively. The catching mechanic is far more streamlined and easier, the battles are snappier and more involving, and the several open areas on offer a wealth of exploration options. It just feels like a huge, big breath of fresh air for a series desperately in need of a refresh. The game's pastel-style graphics also look wonderful too and adds to its setting perfectly. This is definitely the approach I'd like to see Pokemon games go down in the future instead of Scarlet and Violet. At number 5, we have Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Yeah, one of the most baffling crossovers in video game history was Mario and the Raven Rabbids joining together in Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It saw Mario and Rabbids joining up in a strategy style game that was a complete delight way back in 2017. And in 2022, its sequel, Spark of Hope, finally arrived and it was well worth the wait, taking the action to many different galaxies, allowing for greater exploration and a nice mix of puzzles and combat. Talking of the combat, it's been spruced up and feels much more strategic than ever before. Being able to move freely on the battlefield and adding new characters into the mix too, the game is a real looker and provides one of the best games to come out of Ubisoft in a rather long time. If you have a Switch, then this is a no-brainer. Number 4, and just missing out on the top 3, we have Bayonetta 3. The Witch is back. Yes, Platinum Games' Leading Lady's third entry finally arrived in 2022 after being revealed around about 5 years ago, and the wait was well and truly worth it. Whilst it may not be the most graphically impressive Switch game, that doesn't matter, as Bayonetta 3 is easily one of the greatest action games of all times and moved the franchise forward in many cool ways. With a lengthy 15-hour story mode that is its own take on the multiverse genre, introducing us to a new character in Viola and a load of different Bayonettas from different universes. The levels themselves are vast, featuring a decent amount of exploration, and combat is the best the series has seen, with a multitude of weapons at your disposal and the ability to summon creatures to help you in battle. It may have taken its time, but Bayonetta 3 is up there as one of the best games on Switch and arguably the greatest action game of all time. And kicking up at number 3 is quite a surprising entry because I think a lot of people are probably expecting it to be at number 1, but it's Elden Ring. Of all the developers out there, none get fans quite as excited as From Software does. Elden Ring was one of the most hotly anticipated games of 2022, and when it arrived, I didn't get around to it till the summer, but when I did, I was blown away from it, from its truly exceptional open world design. It's a huge open world with so much to do. The opening hours limits you to a small area, but once it opens up, it is truly stunning what is on display here. Taking the beloved Souls formula to open world could have gone wrong in so many ways, but it's easily one of the greatest open world games of all time, with a cornucopia of content to do, and it's also one of the most welcoming Souls games due to the fact that if you're struggling in one area, there's hordes of other optional areas to go to get your gaming fix. It's astounding how much From Software has crammed into this world. We do have George R. Martin here taking a role in creating the world building, which was also a nice touch, though his role was small, but it's still great to see nevertheless. Elden Ring just proves that From Software is going from strength to strength, and I can't wait to see what they do with the new Armored Core game later this year. And just missing out on the top spot, at number 2 we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The Xenoblade Chronicles franchise has gone from strength to strength over the years, with the original seeing the infamous Operation Rainfall campaign to get it localized in the US, to now being one of Nintendo's most beloved and best-selling franchises. Last year we saw Xenoblade Chronicles 3 hitting the Switch in the summer and delivering the best entry in the series to date, featuring another incredible well-written tale full of many emotional moments and a huge list of likeable characters. Monolith Soft always delivers, and this one goes well out the way. The huge open area to explore looks stunning on the Switch with vast landscapes that pushes the system to its limits, whilst also showing Violet and Scarlet a thing or two about technical power. I know the MMO style combat isn't for everyone, but it feels the most refined and tactically rich the series has seen. A perfect time sink for 100 or so hours of gameplay, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 delivers one of the best JRPGs on the systems and Nintendo's best game of 2022. And my game of 2022 at number 1 is, I don't have a physical copy of it, so I'm going to try and put an image of it here, and it is God of War Ragnarok for the PS5. And for me, my number 1, it had to be God of War Ragnarok. God of War 2018 was my game of the year for that year. It revived the series in such a modern and mature way. It offered such a fascinating new style to Kratos as a character, him being a father and being set in the whole Norse mythology stuff. And Ragnarok finally arrives after a few delays, and it was well and truly worth the wait. Continuing on a few years after God of War 2018, it sees Kratos and Atreus trying to live a normal life whilst the prophecy of Ragnarok draws near, and as these two are drawn closer into war, it accumulates into a stunning story that tackles on so many great subjects. It's a game with a lot of heart, and for as tough as Kratos is, you see his and Atreus' relationship reach new dynamics. This dysfunctional family of theirs with Mimir, Sindri and Brox makes for a wonderful family dynamic. There's plenty of laughs, but also quite a few tears in this epic tale. The gameplay hasn't changed much over the previous game, but in all honesty it didn't need to be. There's a few new cool additions here that I won't spoil, but it just makes it feel so much more refined. It's a game that proves when it comes to single player story driven games, nobody does it quite like Sony. It's a shining example of how to do a AAA game and how it should be done. It's also outstanding on whatever system you play it on. A fitting swan song for the PS4 and another brilliant PS5 game to add to the library. So with that, my game of 2022 is well deserved God of War Ragnarok. So yeah, that's my list of top 10 games of 2022 with a few honourable mentions here and there. Literally, I could have done a top 25 because there's been so many quality games in the past year. But yeah, there's a few that I haven't played and a few that I really did want to put on this list. But again, it's so hard to pick just 10 and a few honourable mentions. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think of my top 10 games in the comment section down below. Tell me what games you enjoyed playing last year. Don't have to be games from 2022. It can be games from any year, just games you enjoy in general. So yeah, thank you ever so much for taking the time and watching my video. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe and I'll see you all on the next video. Bye.